Welcome back. This episode is about the true meaning of the word alpha male versus what society or social media is telling you that it means. The word alpha male is a touchy one. It's as soon as it's said, everyone kind of switches off and they start to picture this misogynistic, red pill, egotistic maniac in their head. But that isn't what I see as an alpha male. An alpha male to me is someone who takes responsibility for their mental health, their physical health, and their relationships, which is the three pillars that I focus on. So I want to talk about the term alpha male and why it puts a lot of people off, and why I decided to call my coaching service Alpha Male Coaching and redefining the alpha, how it came about. But before I start, I want to say we have our event coming up in, how long is it away? About 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days away. We have our event in the Waterfront Hall, redefining the alpha, live and unfiltered. We're going to have 3 live podcast style conversations with UFC athletes, MMA stars who are well known for their story, a professor of psychology from Queen's, communication experts, TEDx speakers, behaviour analysis, boxing coaches, elite fighting coaches. We're going to have a serious lineup of speakers at this event, and we're also going to open the floor to the audience to ask their questions and get to know whatever they want to know from us. And we're going to talk about things like masculinity, leadership, psychology, all these things that people like you that watch this podcast are interested in. So make sure you grab a ticket on the Eventbrite page. Just put in Redefine the Alpha Live and Unfiltered, or else go onto the Instagram page and you'll find the link for the tickets there. But act fast because it is very, very close. But anyway, let's go on. So the term alpha male, it puts a lot of people off. In most cases, it's seen as dominance, hard-driving, emotionless, egotistic, misogynistic sort of type of man. But to me, the term alpha male means a self-led man. So a man who has a sense of self-leadership, a man prepared to lead himself with good values, emotional intelligence, calmness, groundedness, and capable, but for the right reasons. So when I say capable, what I mean is like you're strong, you can handle yourself, you have some kind of combat training, and that is, almost to me, I think a necessity as a man is to feel somewhat capable to protect yourself and protect your family, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, there is a lot of people that don't have that privilege due to disabilities or whatever it may be, and that's different, but they are capable in their own way. They're capable of expressing themselves through love, through empathy, through the way they speak to people, etc. How they carry themselves. That's also a form of capability, that you're capable of protecting the energy in the room, in my opinion. Like, capability can come down to also being able to protect the energy in the room, and what I mean by that is when you walk into a room, do you make the room brighter, or do you come in and everyone goes, holy fuck, there's your man? You know what I mean? So it's like there is different types of capabilities in my opinion, but to be capable in terms of the work to your maximum capacity of strength and to at least learn somewhat how to defend yourself is, in my opinion, a necessity as a man, and something I would value a lot. A man prepared to lead himself is what self-leadership is. Self-leadership is how a man leads himself with good values, with good emotional intelligence, etc. But an alpha male, to me, is a leader. And leaders must lead themselves first. Everyone thinks leaders are businessmen, bosses, politicians, CEOs. But to me, leaders are everyone. Everybody is a leader in their own way. You've got to make decisions every day. You've got to lead yourself on a day-to-day basis. And the thing about leadership is the way we view leadership, there's different archetypes to that. So my archetype of leadership is a man or a woman as well who leads themselves before they lead others in the right way, who has conquered their own demons before they go on to help other people. And this is also important in the wellness space, the mental health space, the coaching space. If you are leading from trauma, from maybe insecurities, from childhood wounds that you haven't tapped into or healed, you're leading from a very toxic place, because you're not doing any good to the person you're trying to help or yourself. A lot of people distract themselves from their own shit helping other people. I know this because I've done it, and all it does is promote more trauma, to be honest. It prolongs your healing period, and as well as that, the person that you're trying to help will also never truly feel fully healed, because they are listening to you speak from a place of trauma or a place of woundedness, and that isn't a great thing to do. And I think the wellness space is really bad for that. The coaching space is really bad for that. You see a lot of coaches out of shape, etc. You know, it's the same thing in the wellness space. You know, a fat loss coach who is out of shape, teaching you about fat loss is exactly the same as someone who is riddled with trauma and childhood wounds that haven't tapped into them yet, teaching you how to overcome your trauma or overcome your mental health problems. So that's my 2 cents on that. And in my opinion, an alpha male, a leader, is someone who is willing to go through that journey into the unknown and tap into those things and really ask hard questions of himself about his own childhood, his own traumas, and heal from that in a healthy way. A very tough way, but a healthy way. And then come from a place of overcoming that problem or overcoming that trauma to then help other people. Because how the fuck are you supposed to help other people if you can't even help yourself? It's just a recipe for disaster. So if there was one thing I wanted to leave in 2025, it is unhealed people trying to heal people, and out of shape or lack of strength coaches trying to teach people how to lose fat or get strong. You know, listen, when you're coaching, when you're teaching, when you're helping people, it has to come from a place of experience, in my opinion. Education and knowledge is so important, 100%. I have spent thousands on education. I've spent thousands on my own development as a coach, as a leader, as my own mental health as well. I've spent so much money on it, and I've invested a lot of time into it as well, not just money, a lot of time over 10, 11 years. And listen, it never ends. I still do it to this day. So I'm coming from a place of investment in education, but also a place of lived experience, and that's so important, because you will not be able to relate to the person you're trying to help if you've never been in their position or at the stage of the journey that they're at. So to me, an alpha male is someone who has lived through these things and came out of it with emotional intelligence, emotional competency, capabilities, and true healthy reflection and healthy lessons that they can pass on to people, and lead in a way of calmness, a way of groundedness and regulation, rather than a place of trauma, a place of unhealed wounds. So this means to me that if you are a leader and you have self-leadership, you are also crystal clear on the direction that you want your life to go. You're convicted in your values, and you're convicted in achieving that direction. And what I mean by direction is, the direction I want my life to go personally is, I want to have a thriving business that is helping lots of people, but doesn't require me to be there a lot of the time, so that I can spend more time with my daughter, more time with my partner, and we can live in a good home. We can have food in the fridge. We can have holidays if we want to have them. And we can spend time as a family doing healthy things on a daily basis, going out to the park, playing in nature, going to the beach, you know, going to see my parents. You know, I want to be able to give back something to my parents as well. All those things are so important to me, and that's the direction I want my life to go. Where do I see myself at that time? materialistically. You know, I see the house, I visualize the house that I want, I visualize the material things that I want in my house, in my office, and you know, I visualize the things that I want for my daughter in terms of like what can I give to her. I visualize all those material things. Emotionally, what do I visualize a calm, not stress-free, it's never going to be stress-free, but a calm, grounded and regulated house where my daughter feels safe enough to speak, safe enough to come to me about things, safe enough to express herself, and safe enough to freely feel as if, you know, the home is somewhere that she wants to be. And that's important to me. And my partner feels the same way. And we have healthy habits, we have healthy rituals on a daily basis, we're eating good food, we're looking after ourselves. That is the direction that I see crystal clear I want my life to go. And that may slightly change, but I just am convicted in that direction right now. And my values are aligned with that conviction. So what do I value? I value my time, I value my service, I value my knowledge, I value what I can give to the world as well. I value myself as a person, and I am my number one value. I value me. And what I mean by that is looking after my head, looking after my body, and making sure that the people around me are aligned with what I want in life. I'm making sure that the people that work with me are aligned with the vision that I have for my business and the vision that I have for redefining the alpha. So that is where alignment, direction and values come in. I value my family, I value my health, I value my time, I value the things I can give back. Those are so important, and you need to get crystal fucking clear on what you value. And do not sit there and tell me that you value family, you value yourself and all this, but then in your actions and in your daily life, that is not a reflection of what you said you value. Your life will leave clues and show you exactly what it is that you value. If you're running about like a fucking header every weekend drinking and taking drugs, or you're not showing up to the gym, you're not going for your run, you're not doing your walk, you're not getting your steps in, you're not sticking to your meal plan, you're not showing your daughter love, you're not showing your partner love, you're not showing patience in the house, you're not showing calmness around all these chaotic events, you're not carrying yourself the way that you said you would carry yourself, you're not keeping your word to yourself, you are full of shit. And what I mean by that is, you say you value this, you say you want your life to go this way, but it doesn't reflect in your actions. So actions are everything. But first, you need to get clear on what direction you want to go, what your values are, and be convicted in doing it, and show up every fucking day and keep your behaviour and the way you carry yourself, your behaviour on a daily basis aligned with that direction that you want to go. Otherwise, you're just talking shit. And that is why a lot of men hate themselves as well. And that's why a lot of men self-destruct, because they don't do this, because they know in their head what they want. They know deep down exactly what they want and what they value, but they don't keep in alignment with that with their behaviour. So what they do is they further self-destruct to basically feel like they have some kind of control over the situation, but they don't. So get aligned, know your values, know what direction you want your life to go, and show up every day that way, regardless of what's happening in your life. Regardless. So the next thing that I want to talk about is we've confused busyness and volume with confidence and clarity. So what that means is we look at people who are busy and post like working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m, getting up at 4 a.m. and training. We look at that as confidence and success, but to me it doesn't look that way. To me that looks miserable, because that is not aligned with the values that I have. As I just said before, I value my time, so why the fuck would I want to be working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m? Don't get me wrong, I've done that for years. I've done it myself, and it was good for building experience, but the only lesson I learned is that I didn't need to do it. And that is it. And people will argue with me otherwise, but that is the truth. If you are wasting your time just trying to look busy, you're not. Your value is looking busy. It's not your time or yourself. we've rewarded also reaction and stimulation to regulation. So what I mean by that is if no one is regulated anymore. And to me, an alpha male, a leader, someone who is an alpha male is someone who is regulated rather than overstimulated. And why do we live in a culture where it's overstimulated? Because of the hustle culture and also the distraction culture of, you know, you always have to be doing something, you always have to be busy, you always have to be showing up, you always have to be posting, you always have to be looking at people's shit on Instagram and TikTok. So you're constantly stimulated, you're never regulated, and regulation is where you feel at peace, you feel calm, you're able to cope with situations. Regulation is really good for just having a clear mind. Do you actually have a clear mind? And until you do become regulated, you won't be able to actually distinguish what direction you want your life to go, or what your values are, because you'll be getting into it with a panic, stressed mindset, and you'll be writing shit that you don't even mean. Get regulated first, and do that by changing your physical state. You know, sauna, ice bath, going for a walk, whatever it may be. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own thing that regulates them, you know. For me, it's going for a walk and having a day off and being in a certain environment with my partner where I feel calm, safe, and I'm regulated. And then I can start writing down ideas and values and all the rest of it, the direction I want my life to go. So regulation is so underrated, and it's not prioritised nowadays. Nowadays what's prioritised is all this shit. Nobody cares, work harder. Well, you should care. I don't give a fuck who else cares, but you should care. You should care about yourself, and how you do that is by making sure that you take responsibility for your head, for your physical state, for your relationships, by keeping yourself regulated. And that is how you keep regulation. Regulation over stimulation. That is what the message is there. And we also, I think if a man can't really lead himself, he'll replace it by trying to control everything around him. So he may even develop a victim mentality, which is also a massive problem. A victim gives power to a problem, whereas a survivor gives power back to himself. And this may not be their fault. It may have been taught growing up to blame other people for our problems. I know growing up, I was always told, like, we are in this state because of him, because of them, it's because of this politician, because of whatever. And yes, while that may hold some validation, may hold some, truth, living in that victim mindset is just going to get you nowhere. Nowhere. The only person that holds responsibility to your actions and to what you do in life is you. So take back that power. If you're constantly blaming situations, people, and fucking circumstances on why you are the way you are, you're never going to change. So take that power back. And that's something that I will talk about in a different episode, but it's so important that we lose that victim mentality. So what do I see in the version of alpha male that social media has created? I see burnout, I see insecurity, I see emotional suppression, I see basically men working from a place of trauma and a place of stimulation rather than regulation. And that is not the type of alpha male that I want to curate. And redefining the alpha is designed to extinguish that version and that term that's been curated. So folks, I want to close this episode off by thanking you all for watching, and if you like these episodes, please like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know your thoughts. If you want me to talk about any other topics as well, drop them in the comments, and I will see you the next episode.